Hello. So, hi, welcome back. My name is Shay, and this is Shaegeeksout. If you're new here, I'd love it if you'd subscribe and click the little bell so you know when I post new videos. But today is going to be a book review for Journeymage by Mancour. Now, I have been slowly reading and reviewing these books as I go along. And in this one, Journeymage is definitely one of my favorites in the entire series thus far. I gave this book 5 stars, thoroughly enjoyed it, so let's talk about it. In Journeymage, I feel like we're seeing a different side of Minolin that we hadn't seen yet. Like, we'd seen glimpses of this Minolin, but we hadn't seen him a lot. So I'm very excited that we had this book. So essentially, Min is tasked with taking the, I believe it's the Kasari children, but they are, for all intents and purposes, like trained Boy and Girl Scouts, which is fantastic. I love this element. But he needs to take them across the country to another settlement of their people so that they can be safer and away from the Gurvani. So we're not having a lot of direct contact with the Gurvani in this one, which I'm totally okay with. I tend to not love the heavy battle-focused books as much as some of the more introspective ones like this one. Penny decides to come along on the journey with us, which was absolutely fantastic because she is making big heart puppy eyes at one of the hunters of this people. And so it's really interesting to see her like simpering and in love with this guy. It's adorable. I love it. But they have very strict like honor codes and like chastity codes. So it's really interesting because I don't think her sex magic will blend very well with that people. So with that said, so as they're traveling across the country, Min has been given access to the Alka Alan waypoints. So he uses the waypoints to help like get goods like food and supplies and stuff for their company, so they're not having to haul quite so much and they're not having to ration quite so much. He's able to properly feed and take care of these, I believe it's 2,000 children that he's taking across the country. In doing so, Min basically runs himself ragged between using the waypoints, trying to balance being a fief lord and a husband and the mage lord and all of those kinds of things. It's really just interesting to me because we see him reach his breaking point. And I think that's something that we've needed to see. I mean, he's seemed so invincible in so many ways up to this point. But we see him basically fall apart in this book in a lot of ways and have to rely on the talented people around him. But he has to rely on other people. And he's not very good at that. He's never been very good at that. So it's really interesting to see him have to rely on other people so much. I think it does a lot for his character. Excuse me while I order my drink and breakfast. I found it really interesting, the whole idea of the children basically being Boy Scouts, because they're pretty self-sufficient, and it made Minolin look at them differently and respect them, which I really greatly appreciated. The other thing we have happening in this book is as they go along, all of these orphans and young children of families who are barely surviving in the areas that they are basically asking Minolin to take their children with them. And so along the way, they grow from 2,000 to more like 5,000 and what that means. And that's how Minolin ends up wearing himself down so far. While he's basically like incapacitated, we'll say. He has this dream with the fire goddess and ends up in his head, in this fever dream, creating this thing that he thinks will help. I think so. Right? Correct. All right, now that I have my supplies, let's go. So just the whole, like, it kind of felt like a road trip book because of the way that we're moving through. But as I was saying before, I'll get back to that. This is so scattered, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we basically have, while he's in this fever dream, he creates basically a weapon, we'll say, to help defeat the Gurvani and things. And Minilin's basically, like, still recovering and all those kinds of things going into the next book. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what he ended up creating magically in this fever dream of his. As I spill my drink all over myself this morning. Anyway. So, yes, I truly enjoyed this book. We see the softer side of Millen. We see the father in Millen because he doesn't want to see any children suffer, so he does what he can to bring the children along, but he makes them commit to the ways of basically the Boy Scout, Girl Scout children of this people because of the way they're running their, for lack of a better terminology, their essential, walking road trip. Their journey across the plains. I don't know what you want me to call it. That thing. Yeah. Like, they have to agree to those ways or they won't be welcome in the party. And any parents that come along, they also have to agree to the ways. And some of them don't. And so they get essentially kicked out. But they end up kind of creating their own little, like, pilgrimage across that's what it is, a pilgrimage. That's the term I was looking for. So as they go, they just keep adding more and more people, and that just puts so much more stress on Minilin. And watching him get to the point where he's forced to rely on other people is something that's been a long time coming, I think, because we see him trying to do everything, but he can't. He's only one person, and that's just how things go this morning. Not this morning, how things go in the book. And it's great. Another thing that happens that I haven't brought up yet is that Alia's his current wife, his baby mama, she ends up getting married to another mage lord who's been, like, causing problems, essentially. So Minilin's going to have to deal with that as well, because that's kind of happening in the background as all of this is going on. So now that, because of how much he drained himself, he's going to be stuck at home for a while, and I think that's going to lead to a very interesting next book. I don't remember what the next book is in the series, like the title of it off the top of my head, but I will be reading it soon. I'm currently rereading a favorite series, so once I finish that, I'm going to jump back into this series because I have truly been enjoying it. And so those are my rambly thoughts about Journeymage. I absolutely loved it. There's a big reveal at the end of the book that has me, like, still kind of in shock, if I'm honest. So I'm very much looking forward to the future of the series, because I feel like now we're going to have a little bit of a pivot because, one, Min's stuck at home, and two, the reveal that happened at the end of the book. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're new, I would love it if you would subscribe and click the little bell so you know when I post new videos. I will be continuing to review the series as I go. And yes, thanks so much for watching. If you're here just because you love me, put some sort of travel-based emoji. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.